Hey y'all, I'm Hope and today I'm putting together my July TBR. I'm going to be playing TBR Betrayal, which I didn't do last month because of whateverathon, but we're going to continue on from where we left off in May. I do, however, have a couple of housekeeping things, so like I'll put a timestamp for you to like skip ahead to the game part, but I have a couple of rule changes for the game just to try something different that I think is going to make this a little more manageable, and just in terms of playing and making sure I'm not like losing dice, because I'm always afraid I'm going to be losing my dice out of my actual game. That's the dice I've been using for this. So what I'm planning to do here, why does this look like it's not level? Hang on a moment, let me make sure y'all are level. That's better. One of the legs of this particular tripod was actually not fully extended. That's fixed now, we're good to go. Okay, back to the rule change things. So normally I would be using the dice that I've taken out of my actual board game of Betrayal at the House on the Hill, but I'm always afraid I'm going to lose those. So what I think I'm going to do instead is use my standard like RPG dice. So my plan is to use a regular d6 for movement. This will allow me to move a little bit more than I have previously, but we weren't moving very quickly anyway, so I think this will be fine. I'm also going to be using a d12 to do the haunt rolls whenever I get an omen, because that's the maximum number you can get. Normally for haunt roll you would use 6 of the dice from the game, which the highest number each of them has is 2. So 12 is the highest number you could get anyway. So I feel like that is a decent replacement. So that's what I'm doing for the dice. The other thing is that I'm going to be using something different for the omens. Instead of doing cards, because I've realized that these are not reusable easily, I have to like replace the front of the card, which makes them kind of hard to shuffle. I didn't think this totally through when I made the cards. This game is very much a work in progress all the time. What I'm doing instead is I have a mug now, which has my entire owned TBR in it. It doesn't actually have my entire TBR in it because there were too many books, so there's a jar. So my plan is just to replenish the mug as needed, and occasionally like swap out what's in the mug versus what's in the jar. But I'm going to be pulling from this mug for omens. Because I could really literally get anything off my shelf, I'm going to allow myself 1 redraw per month. So if I get an omen and I pull that and I really don't want to read the book that I've gotten, I'm allowed to redraw it once. So if I were to get 2 omens during a game and I redrew for the first one, I wouldn't be able to do it for the second one. But this will allow me to have a little more control over what I'm exactly reading, while also hopefully encouraging me to pick up things off my TBR that I haven't like remembered that I own and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be doing for omens now. I think that is all of the rule change stuff that I needed to tell you about, so let's go ahead and dive into the game and find out what I'll be reading for July. Okay, first things first, let's figure out what character we're going to be playing. Got an 11, and that's going to be Mahit from the Takes Clan books, and her knowledge is 3, so I just need to have 3 books in my TBR. Okay, last time we played was May, and we ended here, so let's go ahead and roll book number 1. We got a 2. So 1, 2, I know what our prompt is. We got favorite author. All right, first things first, we got favorite author. And I was really excited about this because that's a fun one to get. Obviously, I get to read from an author I really love. And for this one, I've chosen My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. Every book I've read from him so far, I've given, I think, 4.5 to 5 stars. I absolutely love his writing and the just kind of voice that his writing has. I don't really know how to describe it. I haven't found the words for it yet, but I just love the way he writes. And I've heard so many good things about this book that I have been dying to get to it and just not having a good opportunity to do so. But I do want to participate in Summerween during July, which is I think a week-long readathon hosted by Olivia Reads a Latte and Gabby Reads. So I'll link their announcement videos in the description below because this looks like a lot of fun. But one of the prompts for that is going to be to read a slasher, and I'm pretty sure this one is a slasher. So this will work perfectly for that, and it gives me opportunity to finally get to this one, especially ahead of the release of the sequel. I think this is going to be a trilogy. Right, rolling for book number 2. We got another 2. That's going to be 1, 2. So, first initial. This means that whenever I get the next prompt, the book I choose for it will need to have the same first initial for the author as mine, so it'll have to start with an H. All right. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we immediately get a prompt to use with that, so fantasy. Then we got an interesting combination of first initial and fantasy. So I needed to find a fantasy book whose author's first initial was the same as mine, so starting with an H. And for that, I only had 2 options. I thought I had more than that, but I have very few authors on my shelf whose first name is starting with an H. But I've decided to go with For the Wolf by Hannah Whitten. This is one that I needed to read for my ongoing Goodreads Choice project where I'm reading all of last year's sci-fi and fantasy nominees. So I needed to get to this one anyway. I also just think this sounds like a lot of fun. It's a kind of Red Riding Hood, I think, inspired tale. But it's about this girl named Red, and she's the second daughter born to the royal family. The first daughter is for the throne, the second daughter is for the wolf. So she's being sent as a kind of sacrifice into the forest to the wolf, who the people of her kingdom believe, I think they believe that he's like captured the gods and is holding them hostage. And so they're sacrificing Red to the wolf to try and deal with that situation. But she also has a magic ability that's kind of got her frightened, and so she's actually happy to go into the forest as a sacrifice. But when she gets there, she finds out that the wolf is not what they thought he was, and also that what they think has happened to the gods is not really the truth. And so I don't know anything beyond that. I do kind of want to go in blind beyond that. I know there's a romance in here I've heard is really good, but I'm just really excited to read this one because I pre-ordered it and then I never got around to it. But I also know the sequel for this one just came out, so if I like it, I will be able to go out and pick up the sequel too. Enrolling for book number 3, I've got a 4. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's figure out what our omen is gonna be. Heck. Sure. So we got the inventions, researches, and writings of Nikola Tesla. I think I'm gonna allow myself to redraw this one. So that'll be my one redraw for this month, but it doesn't really matter because it's my last book. So, please be kind. Okay. This time I got The Girl Beneath the Sea. I'm actually fine with that. I'm pretty sure this one is a thriller that I got a while back. And then lastly, The Omen, since I let myself redraw it, we got The Girl Beneath the Sea, which is a thriller. I had to look back up again because I got it as a Prime First Reads book like ages ago. But this one is a thriller about a woman named Sloane who is an evidence recovery diver for the, I think, Fort Lauderdale police. And she ends up recovering the body of a woman who is found in a canal. And the woman's past ends up intersecting with Sloane's own past, because she comes from a family of like treasure hunters and drug smugglers. And so as things are revealed throughout the investigation, Sloane becomes a suspect, kind of standard. The detective is a suspect kind of setup. And she ends up having to team up with the DEA officer that put her uncle behind bars. So I think it sounds like it'll be fun. It seems like a pretty standard thriller setup, but I usually like these kind of things. And I haven't read one that's about a diver, so I think that'll be kind of a fun twist to it. But those are all of the books that I have to read. We'll see if I actually get to them in July. I am actually really excited about the selection. I think it sounds like a lot of fun, and I'm glad that I actually got a little bit of variety in here with a slasher, a kind of mystery thriller, and a dark fantasy. Trying not to drop this and knock over my tripod. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this selection. I'm looking forward to reading these in July. I have not done well on my June TBR. I didn't read any of the books that Jacob picked for me so far. It's the end of the month. We're getting there. I haven't read any of those. I haven't read any of the books that I picked for myself. So really, just doing great in June. But I am excited for July, and I really think that this is going to be a fun pick. I'm holding them backwards. There we go. Yeah. So thank you so much for watching and joining me today for this TBR game. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.